Okay. So I'm just going to create a quick permit, upload some electronic documents, and then jump into the markup tool and how you can use comments and all of that. So I'll just start here, and we'll create a new permit project. And I'm just going to say, I just have some pool plans that I'm going to load, so I'll just say it's a new pool. And let me plug in an address and search. We'll select this one. One of the things that in your list was the GIS piece, and I don't know if you're using that in CitizenServe right now, but I can just show you what I've got here in this test environment. Once you plug in the address, if you click the map, it'll show you where it is on the map, and you get all the things. This is a Google map, so you get everything that comes with that. You can look at the satellite images. You can drag your little guy up and look at that. So you get all the Google stuff. You can also load layers from your parcel data or your GIS data. So if I click the parcel layer, it's just going to draw those parcel lines. So you can have as many different types of layers that you want. So if this is something that you guys want to add in, if you're not using it, we can certainly do that.
We could put it, if we had all the addresses for our permits, we could put that layer on top.
Yeah, so it works two ways. So the first thing that we do is, and this may or may not, yeah, this would work. Just because you're the whole state, so you don't typically have. Normally, when we work with a city, they'll load all of the parcels that are in the city into the system, but that's going to be a lot for you because it's the entire state. But we could just geocode all of your existing addresses, and then the same basic thing would happen. You'd still get this map icon. And then we can load as many different layers as you want. So if you've got a GIS system now where you can see certain layers like zoning areas or things like that, we can load those as well. You just need to export the layers in your GIS system to a KML or a KMZ file, and then we can load them.
If we have the same thing for the fire officials and first responder location information, we could also add in a layer of that as well, right? Yeah, you can have as many layers as you want. If you have, like, people put their primary ones here, and then if you have supplemental ones that you use sometimes, you can put them down here just so that your top ones are at the top. But you can load as many different layers as you want. And it usually just takes us a few days to get them loaded. So once you have them, it's pretty quick to get up and see it. All right, so I'm just going to select a permit type, and it's going to pull up the workflow route, sending it off to different people to do the review. I'll save this and just fill out the rest of my form. I'm going to select an applicant. We'll say it's Acme Construction. How many structures? And again, these are all just custom fields, so it doesn't look like your applications because it's our test site. But you can add and remove fields as much as you want. I'm just going to fill out all of the required things. And then here's where we're going to attach documents. So I'm just going to attach a site plan. We're going to do pool plans. If I wanted to attach more, I could. I'm just going to do the one so that I can kind of show you how that works. So we've got all our basics in here. I'm just going to scroll up to the top and hit save. So that'll set up our file with our permit and our reviews. So if I look at the reviews, what kind of file types do you accept?
You can upload any type of file. So normally what we do on the portal side is we'll limit it just because you don't want people uploading weird file types that you won't be able to read. But you can open it up to accept any type of a file. But the defaults are like drawing files, PDFs, Word, spreadsheet. So there's some different options that you can select. So what a lot of people do is they say, we want all your plans to be in PDF format because it's easy, everyone can read it, they're going to be smaller files. So a lot of people will do that. They'll limit it and say, all right, everyone applying online, we need them in PDF format. But if you want to accept the raw original files, you can.
Are there any file size limitations?
There's an individual file size limitation of 25 meg. You can upload as many 25 meg files as you want, but each file's got to be under that. And so a lot of times what people do, let me go back here just to show you, they'll break those submittal documents into separate fields so that they don't get one 400-page plan. They get, okay, we want your site plan, we want your landscape plans as a separate file, and that way you can kind of organize what the information you're getting from the contractors rather than them giving you one giant file. And if they're uploading all this online, you're really putting that back on them so that you don't have to have staff that's scanning all these documents and splitting them apart and trying to figure it out. If you can get them to apply online, then you can put that work onto the applicants. All right, so let's take a look at the reviews part. So this is just a simple route. We have it going to this Morgan Katz just to do the application intake. You can set this up however you want, but what we have here is just one person's going to get it and say, yeah, everything's complete, we can start the review. So I'll pull it up, just mark this complete, plug in today's date, and save it, and then that assigns it to everyone else who is on the list. Once everyone on this list is done, it'll go to the last person saying the review is complete, and they can put together comments or issue the permit or whatever the next step might be. You can have different levels within this. So if you said, all right, we don't want planning and zoning to see it until fire's done their part, you can structure it that way. So I'm going to go to my home page and see how do I get notified that I have a new review, and then we'll start that review process. So I'm going to go to the home page, and here it is. I have an application review. So I'm going to go ahead and click this activity, and I want to jump right into looking at the documents and start marking them up. So to do that, I click this markup document icon, and it's going to list all the documents that were attached. So if I had attached more than one, they would all be there. I'll click the pool plans, and that's going to open up our markup tool. It's going to load the document, and it's loading the whole thing, so sometimes it takes a little bit to load it, but then once it's all loaded up on the system, it's fast, moving between pages and everything else. So in the markup tool, you can add shapes, markings, lines, comments, whatever. So if I wanted to add a received stamp, I can just grab the received stamp and drag it on here, and it'll date stamp it and plug in my name. If I have a couple of other stamps. Here's a logo stamp. If I wanted to put our logo on there, I can add that. So you can have different stamps. You can create stamps. So if I wanted to create a new stamp, I can come in here and, I don't know, Julie. I can add a date, time on it if I want. I can add a username. I can add images. I can put whatever text I want in there. I can control the width, the font size, whether I want it solid or dash, colors, all that stuff. And then you can share the stamp individually. So you can say it's just yours. So if it's something that you use all the time, not everyone else is using, you'll just set it up to be my stamp. If it's something that everyone in the department uses, you'll make it a department. If it's across the whole division, you can make it all departments, and then everyone can use the stamp. That way people don't have to see stamps that they don't need. So you can save them based on individuals or departments. So I'll just make this a me stamp, hit save. Once I do, it puts it on there, and then I can just drag the stamp onto my map, onto my plan.
There are multiple pages. Can you have it put the stamp on every page?
It doesn't do that right now. It was one of the things I highlighted in your comments. It's really just putting it on one page. And we can kind of go through, maybe after we look at it all, I can go through the requirements that you sent and show you all the ones I highlighted that it doesn't do, or I wasn't sure what you wanted it to do.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. And then if I want to start adding comments, so let's, while I'm in here, I have some sizing options. By default, it's sized to fit the width of your monitor. If you say you want to view the whole document, you click that icon. If you want it to go to 100% of the document size, you do that. So these kind of let you view it better. You can rotate it if they scanned it upside down. You can rotate it if you need to. And let's start adding some comments. So I'm going to make it this big. So let's say I wanted to measure it. There's a measuring tool. So you can come down, and first thing you have to do is you have to calibrate it. So normally you want them to print something on their plans that has the key that this is an inch or a foot or whatever. But I'll just measure this line and we'll say that that's 30. So you measure it and then you say, okay, this is a 30-foot line. Okay. And then now I can use the measuring tool to come up here and measure things. Measure that way. So it's 2 foot 8 inches. So there's a measuring tool. If you want to start adding comments, let's say you didn't like something about this. You could draw an arrow to it if you wanted to. Let's say I want to make my arrow thicker. I can increase the width of it. And I'm going to start adding comments. There's 2 ways you can add comments. You can just click this and hit add a comment, or you can type in a comment. And there's spell check built in. So if you spell something wrong, it'll tell you right then. I'll add that comment and another one. You can always also choose from a predefined list of comments. So let's say I go here, I can click the book, and it'll list all these pre-canned comments. And you can filter them by group. So if I say, oh, I'm doing a pool, so let's look at my comments for fences and pools. I can say I want to add all of these comments and maybe this one too. You can add as many of these as you want. Once you click Save, if you go to View Comments, you can see them. So if you wanted to modify them, if they're like just generic and you want to add something in there, you can. Or you can add another comment too.
If we already have like a preset comments list, can that be uploaded?
Yep, we'll import that for you.
Okay, it's like just a really big Word document of all the comments that we already use.
Yep, that's exactly how we load them. And usually we try to do groups just because it can be a big document. So sometimes that takes some work, you know, depending on how you want to see them. So like here in this, and I just pulled these from different customers that we work with. So if they wanted to look at, you know, the IVC code, they can look at certain things on that. So you can have different groups. And each department can have their own set of comments. So if you've got somebody in a different department who's looking at it for different things, they can have their own list of comments. You can go to the next page and, you know, add some more items if you want. So there's circles and rectangles and lines and free draw, all the basic shapes. You can change the color of them, the outline, all that stuff. So let's save. Let me add a comment here. I just want to get a couple comments in. And I'm going to save it and then show you where it puts those comments and then what you can do with it. And then we'll come in as another user so that you can see how do you see each other's comments. So I'll save this, close it out, and it automatically put all those comments into my activity. So you don't have to go into the document if you want to see someone's comments. You can, but you don't have to. And if you wanted to email them your comments at this point, you can just hit the send email icon, select a template and a recipient. I'll hit preview, and then it'll just pull all those comments in. You can structure this however you want. A lot of people will put, let me just get out of here, put the documents like this is saying, oh, on the plans document, page 1, these were our comments, page 2, these were our comments. So you could print that information in there if you wanted so that they could look at them side by side. So let's go in as somebody else and look at the other comments. I'm going to go in as Ryan James. And again, same thing, I'm going to pull up my pool activity and click the documents, and I'll pull it up. So it shows you over here all the different people who have comments on this document. So if 10 people had made comments, they would all be listed, and they get numbered in the order in which they add their comments. So you'll always be listed first, but if there's other people, they'll be listed there. So if you click that person, you'll see their comments, and they're a little bit translucent, so they look different. You can click them, you can't change them, you know, you can't move them, you can view their comments, but you can't make changes to the comments, so you can see what other people have said. And let's say I don't want to see theirs, I want to put my own received stamp on, I can, so it puts in the name of the user. If you have the username as part of your stamp, that can go in there. So let's make some comments for Ryan. And he's got a different set of comments. So here's an example of that. We'll just add some. Let's see. You can look at the numbers. So it assigns a number. It's going to be the reviewer plus the item number. And so you can, when you send this document to the applicants, or if they look at them online, you can cross-reference the shapes to your comments. We have a compare function. This is in testing right now, so it's not completely done, but there's a side-by-side comparison, so you can pull up two documents and see what's different about them. Let me save this, and I want to show you. Let me go back out and back in as Liam.
When do you anticipate that being in production?
We don't have a specific date, but it's probably July-ish.
Okay.
I mean, the majority of it's done. We're working on the email printing and that piece of it, and the comparison and the emailing and printing. Let me pull this up. So let's say that they submitted a revised plan. I'm going to add another document. Now, they can do this through the portal, but I'm just going to add it here. So I'm going to go add a file, and I'm going to select the pool revised plans. And what I'm going to do is pull in the comments from my last plan on this one so that I can see what's there. I'll just call this revision. So now I'm going to click the markup icon, and I want to pull up the new document. So I'm going to pull up the revised plans. And I'm going to use the lightning bolt, and that's what's going to pull in my comments from my last document. So I can import markups from a previous document. I can click this, and if I had multiple plans, it would list them all, but I'm going to pick the comments that I entered on the first document that we looked at. So when I do that, it just pulls everything in automatically. So if you said, oh, I don't want this in there, I can just delete it. And if I say, oh, I want to look at the comments I had to see have they fixed these things, I can look at the comments, and then if that's good, I can say, okay, I'm going to get rid of that. If this one's good, I can get rid of that. So you can see all the comments you had last time and make changes or additions to them. So you don't have to kind of go back and forth, back and forth. You see them all in the same document. And then I think that's all of that stuff. You can highlight. I didn't show you the highlight tool. Highlight tool. There's text. You can put text on there if you want to also. Make bigger if you want. And then up here, these are the areas that are still in development. You can email it, which combines the comments and the documents into one PDF and emails it to them. Same thing with printing it. You could combine the document with all your shapes and all your comments, print it out, and mail it to them. So that's an overview of the markup tool. Any questions on that?
When you talked about the uploading, if the customer uploads a revised plan in the portal, does it automatically rename it, or is it up to the customer to rename it?
It doesn't rename it. You can tell which one it is, though, by the date. So if I looked at, let me go into here. I guess if they have on the same day, it would be different, but the date would likely be different. So you could tell from that, but it's still going to put the most recent one, the oldest one's at the top, I guess. I'm not sure how that's ordered, but it doesn't change the file name.
But it's not going to overwrite it, is that what
No, you could have, right, it's not going to overwrite it. If I upload that same document again, I'll just pull in pools again. Let's see, what was this one I did first? It doesn't overwrite it. It's now you've got two.
Okay. And you said that you mentioned that the customer can view via the portal. So they can come in, I guess, once you complete the review, they could, and you could send them an email, say it's been complete, and they can come in and see the markups on the plans. Is that what I understand?
That's one of the things that that I highlighted on your requirements. Because you have a custom portal, that functionality is not going to automatically be in there. So that's one of the enhancements we'd have to make, is go into your portal and add that feature to it. And so the way, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It is available. It would just have to be modified. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, we'd have to just we'd have to program it in, because it's not automatically. You have a custom portal, so when we make changes to the standard portal, they don't automatically get copied into yours, so we'd have to add that. But it would work in a similar fashion. It would be kind of like when I looked at, let me go over here.
So they can see the comments, letter,
yeah. Okay. And they can see the plan where you want.
So we don't have to approve it and then they can go to the comments first.
Yeah. It would be kind of like how when I looked at another user's comments, I couldn't edit them. That's how it would sort of be. They'd be able to look at everything, but they couldn't put around, and we'd have to kind of work through the requirements of that. Like, do you want them to be able to comment on top of your comments and things like that?
Okay. When you said that it would accept any forms, is what kind of document formats, like CAD, and are we working with that at all, or are we planning on working only with JPEG? And
yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, what we've gotten so far has been PDF, and that's where everything's went. But I mean, there may be some, different versions. I guess that's a question. If it comes in a different version, then CitizenServe gives the ability to view it within its software?
Well, if it's written in a proprietary application, so let's say it's an AutoCAD file. If you have AutoCAD on your computer, then you'd be able to see it. It's not really a CitizenServe function. It's a function of what software you have on your computer. If you don't have AutoCAD, it's going to do, just like if you click the file and they emailed it to you, it's going to go, what do you want me to open this with? Which is part of the reason why people are saying, we want everything in PDF, because it's common. You can view it on your, laptop, on your, iPhone, on your tablets out in the field. No one's going to have AutoCAD on their, on their iPad.
so if they, Julie, if you made if we did the changes to the custom portal so that the customer could see the comments, then we can also put it within the flow that if they make comments back or send documents back to us, it would be rerouted to the original reviewer.
Yeah, I mean, because yours is custom, we can almost do whatever we want, right? So if that's something that you want to build into that, we could do that. Through the standard portal, the way that it works is if they come in and they upload a new document, it gets sent to either a specific user or the user assigned the file. You can configure it. So you could say, these types go to that person, or they should go to whoever's been assigned to the file. But through your portal, because it's all custom, we can set it up to do whatever we want, really. It's just a matter of what you want to see it do and what kind of time and cost that takes.
Okay. I don't think, do you have any other questions about the document, the markup? Okay.
The only other thing I had about the markup was, do you allow them to put in a stamp that is secure, that it can't be copied or removed?
That was one of the things I highlighted. So if I put a stamp on it, I can change my stamp. So if I put received here, I mean, I can move it because I'm the one who put it on there. No one else could move it. The applicants couldn't move it if we provided them access to see it. So yes and no. If you needed to have a stamp that once it was plugged in, it couldn't be deleted or moved or anything like that, that's something that we'd have to add. It's not in there now.
So that must be like the engineer. I mean, is that what we're talking about there, the engineer's stamp? Or?
Yeah, the approval stamp.
Okay.
Hijack that one.
So once we mark it approved, nobody else
The
can
only
change
person
it.
that could change it would be whoever marked it.
Okay.
Right, and that's how it works now. Only the person who market approved could then take it off and say, no, it's not.
Which is okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you want me to kind of go through the things I saw in your document that's not in here? Okay, the first one was the customizable user-defined portal view. I mean, we can customize your portal, but every time we make changes, it costs money, usually. If it's like adding a field, things like that, those are all configurable. So that's kind of a plus or minus. We can change some things, but some things we can't change without a program change. So that was one of the areas I highlighted as just something to keep in mind. We don't have an option. I'm now like on the second bullet of the second page of the comments to make copies of uploaded files. So there's no way in the system for me to say, oh, I want to copy this as something else. If you truly wanted to make a copy of it, you'd have to save it and then attach another copy of it. So I wasn't sure kind of what you were looking for in that ability to make copies.
I think the concept there is so that if you had something submitted as an original, you know, that you could make a copy of that and do your review on that, and you always retained what was originally submitted as a clean submission.
Gotcha. So that you can do. So when I look at it, there's two ways to look at these documents. Let me go to the Documents tab. If I want to look at this original document plan, I can click it, and that's the raw PDF exactly as I got it. If I want to look at the comments that I made to that, I'm going to click this icon here, and the icon turns red if it has comments on it, so you get a visual indicator, oh, someone's made comments. So if you click that, then you can see those comments. So they're retained as two separate things. The comments are really a stamp that you can either show or not show on the document, so you're not altering the original.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Cool. The next item I highlighted is a few down about the comments. We don't date stamp the individual comments. So if that's something that you had to have, we would need to add it. If you email them, so generally the way it works is, let me go to my activity. Let me grab this one. So I might review this thing over 3 or 4 days. When I'm all done, I'm going to plug in the completion date and then send them my comments. So you have the date that we started it and the date we finished it, but these individual comments aren't date stamped.
Okay, so if I have the drawing that comes in and I review it and I make a comment, and that particular comment you indicated previously is, let's say it's labeled 1.1, and then I bring those comments over to the revision. If they didn't correct what I wanted in the comment and I make more clarity, is it still labeled 1.1 or does it get a different number?
It's still 1.1, but it's on a different review activity, if that makes sense. So you can tell the differences. So let's see. I can't really show, but if I look at if I look at Ryan James, he's got not that one, that one. It's hard to explain. So it does get the same number, but it's tied to a different review activity. So you could say, the application review starting on this date. Maybe I can illustrate it this way. Let me come in here. So if I look at this, you can say, oh, show me the comments that were on this one. Oh, there aren't any. Show me the comments that were on this review, and that's where you see them. So because they're tied to the review, that's kind of what groups them all together.
Okay.
But if you needed a date stamp, I mean, that's one of those things we could probably add.
So in order for that to close, that initial review has to be completed. So it wouldn't, if I ask, and make sure I ask this where it makes sense. So if I get a project in and I review it, I have to complete that review in order to send the comments.
You don't have to complete it. Typically from a procedural, there's kind of two ways to go. What some people do is they complete it and then they send the comments, and that gets it off of their to-do list. And then they wait for the renewal or for the revision to come in, and then they get another activity for that revision. So that's option one. The other option is some people like to leave it open until they hear back, so it stays on their list. So if that's how you like to do it, you can send your comments, but not complete it. Stays on your list. Then when they get back to you, you just do it again. And then in that case, you're going to be making comments on a separate document. So let's see. Let me close this. So see how I've got, there's a lot of data, but I have two, on this review activity, I have two documents that I reviewed. So there, if you get a second document, you start making comments on that, you'll be able to see, oh, these are my comments from the revision. And these are my comments from the original.
So can we can actually review it without having to, if they have too many comments or if they have some issues, we can review it, type in our comments and email them back to them without actually having to approve or deny it?
Yeah, you could.
Well, and I think that would depend also on the workflow, because if you marked it complete, that wouldn't necessarily mean the same thing as approved, right, Julie?
Right. So that's why people usually have statuses like resubmittal required, which is I'm done, but you need to resubmit. There's something incomplete. Or approved with conditions means, you know, I had some comments on there that we're just going to leave in as conditions. So you can use that status to indicate what your individual review was. Or you could just leave it open. Like if they had, a lot of times people, if it's a simple thing, they're like, hey, just make this one quick change. They won't close it out because they don't want to go through the whole process again. They know that the guy can make a quick change and send it to you right away. So sometimes people leave it open for that scenario. All right, back to your list of requirements. You mentioned this one, the ability to put the stamps on multiple pages. We don't do that. It's just a one page at a time. And the next one was the ability to copy or clone a project. Can you kind of describe what you're looking for in that?
Let me tell you the requirements since you guys don't have it right in front of you. It was to provide the ability to copy, clone, and plan a review project from an existing project with options to include or exclude fees and sections, address information, owner information, professional information, conditions for approval, application information, scope or proposed use quantities for value calculations, checklist of activities. So you would copy one that would have all of the other existing stuff that you could include or exclude.
Correct. So what we were looking for there is we have a database that already has a lot of activity in it. So we were looking for something that we could go back to and be able to take that information and bring it into a current activity. I don't know if this is applicable to yours because it's the same database. But when we wrote this, the concept is we have a lot of information already in CitizenServe, and we didn't want to create a whole new database, so we wanted to be able to pull information in.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense now. So yeah, I mean, you wouldn't need that in this scenario.
Right. Not in this one.
Okay. Good. The next one is the ability to download a copy of reviewed plan with comments. This is consolidating your comments and sending it back to the applicant. That's the thing that we would have to build into your portal for them to download. They can see the document now on your portal, but what they're going to see is just a PDF, not the one with your markup. So we'd have to change your portal to let them see those comments.
Okay.
And the next one was the GIS mapping, which I don't think you have enabled now. It doesn't. We don't need to. That doesn't cost anything. If you guys want to do that, we can add that at any time. And then on the next page, the ability to integrate with a national grid or similar. I wasn't really sure what. I didn't know what the national grid was. But if we want to integrate with any other systems, we can likely do that. There's just a cost to do that. We'd have to look into the details of each one.
Would it be easier for us to always be giving you the import files for the GIS layers?
It kind of depends. I mean, we see people go both ways. Typically, that information doesn't change that often. So if you're okay with just creating those KML files quarterly or annually, we can load them, and then there's no cost for that. If they're changing all the time, or you don't want to have somebody on your IT staff have to create them, then we can do an integration where we just pull the data. So it's kind of a cost versus value thing. If you want to integrate so that you don't have to think about it moving forward, we can do that. If you want to just manually create the files quarterly or however often, we can do that as well. There's no cost for that. I was just going to say, once we enable the GIS piece for you, you can then run reports on a map. So I don't know what these reports are, but let's just look at them. That's not a good one. Let's go look at this one. This is our test data. I use the same addresses all the time, so there's not a lot of pinpoints. But you can create reports that show things on a map. So if you want to see, how many of these types of permits are we doing in this area, you can, you could do them by your county or your northwest, your areas, however you want to do it. You can create map reports to kind of give you a visual view of what you're doing. You can look at inspections on a map. There's lots of things you can do once you geocode it to see those things on your map. So your inspectors, if I come in, again, I have all the same addresses, but if I come in here and I want to look at my inspections today, I can see them all on a map.
Okay.
So that's something once we enable that you could, start using. And that was everything that I saw on your list that I didn't think we could accommodate or that we don't already have in the new version of the Markup Tool.
So just to clarify, everything is mobile compatible?
Mm-hmm. So you can do everything I just did on an iPad or a laptop or as long as you have an internet connection and a browser.
And they can look at an entire plan either when they're looking at it on the device, they can either see the entire plan or they can just have a single page. Do you have the option to do either?
Well, you look at it a page at a time. Let me pull this one up. So there's not a multi-page view. Let me find one that's got multiple pages. This one. So it tells me 1 of 7. I have to look at each page. I can jump to a page. If I want to go to page 5, I can do that. But there's not a look at all pages option. So if you wanted maybe like a page preview over here on the side, like you get in Adobe, that's something that we could probably add.
Could you share a little bit more about the side-by-side? I know it's still in development. Can you kind of go through what the features are that are going to be included in the side-by-side?
Sure. It's when you click it, it's kind of like a lightning bolt. So it'll list all the different plans that you have. So typically you pull up the revision and you say, I want to look at the old one. And when you click that file, it will then have 2 panels. And then as you page through, everything that you do up here does it to both. So if you resize them this way, it'll basically apply to the same thing so that you can go through page by page of each one. It'll just kind of split this in half with 2 separate pages.
Will it automatically highlight the differences, or is that just something you see?
It doesn't automatically highlight them. It just lets you view them so that you can compare them. But it doesn't tell you what's different.
Okay. I don't know about this, so I'm going to have to ask you guys. But it said the upload of plans in various formats using common file linkage codes for code compliance review of the Florida Fire Prevention Code. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
Enable the upload of plans in various formats and other supporting instruction documents using common file linkage for code compliance review of the FSPC or another appropriate standard test.
Get the very first.
Well, I mean, I think I think it came back to the labeling, you know, when they submitted the plans, we would be able to label them, you know, based on a project. Again, that came back to when we were looking at different applications.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't really be applicable with Citizen Serve because it's already going to be linked to that parcel and that project. So we'd want to be able to identify that plan for that.
I didn't know what that.
Yeah, that was just more generic.
FSPC.
Oh, that's what we have to. That's the standard that we have to review these documents to.
Right, sorry.
Got it. I was,
No problem.
So the workflow, you can have multiple assignments, right? And can they manually assign something on an ad hoc basis?
Yeah, so I can pull up this review route, and if I say, oh, I want to add someone to it, I just click add an activity, and then I can say, okay, let's go add Nicole. And then she gets added as part of the review route.
Now, could we integrate this? Let's say, Julie, we get a plan submitted, and it goes over to John's shop, and he reviews it. Can we then integrate it so that after the review is complete, it automatically gets it automatically gets transferred over to inspections, or while we're still in the review process, we can set it for construction inspection?
Yeah, you can say, so if you said it's going to go to John, and then when John's done, I want to get it, you can do that, and you can do it on status too. So you can say, I only want to see it when John's approved it. Or you can say, I want to see it when John's done, or I want to get it at the same time. So you kind of have to just think, we look at your routes and how are you wanting to transfer information and when, and then just mimic that.
Okay, and as long as they have a Citizen Serve, as long as they have a back-end Citizen Serve profile, we could assign it to them.
Exactly.
Okay.
So once it's approved, are we trying to send to?
We could. I mean, we get at that point.
Instead of, because I know we send that email. So
right. We could just send the plan.
That's what I'm hoping.
The approved plan.
So once the plan is approved, then once they mark it approved, then it could either, they could go in and manually send the plan over to the supervisor, or we could set up a business process where once the plan is marked approved, it goes into the inspection supervisor.
Yeah, it goes to them via task. Yeah, so the plans aren't really getting sent to them. It's a task gets sent to them, which shows up, they get an email, and then it shows up on their homepage saying, go do this review or schedule this inspection.
Right. Okay.
You guys might already know this, which is why I'm asking, but it doesn't have, so this is kind of your dashboard.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we see now.
So you are showing dashboard report and all of that. I'm assuming you're already doing archiving based on your current documentation.
Well,
no.
Okay, so one of the questions we had was that if we can archive after a defined period and then be able to retrieve them when we need them, at least for 10 years, based on what we have to keep the document, our time frame for the document.
We don't specifically do archival. I mean, we just keep everything forever. So what most people do is they close it out, and then it kind of comes out of your active list, and people can't modify it. So closing is kind of archiving, but we never really remove them unless, you want to remove them. We don't delete them. We don't charge for space, so it doesn't matter to us if you keep them forever.
So if it's closed, we can still go back and get the documents and everything, so we're good to go.
Yeah. it just essentially never gets archived. You can close it so that people can't modify any aspect of it anymore, but it's still in the system. And that's, you really want to keep that there also for reporting purposes. It lets you have a historical look at things. How much did we, bill in the last 5 years, or the last, I mean, I guess you probably don't go back more than 10 years, but it's nice to have that information for historical purposes whenever you need it.
Yeah.
How does the licensing work for all of the external customers that would be coming in and uploading documents?
There's no licensing for them, so the portal, you can have unlimited users on the portal, so they don't have to, there's no cost. There's just the one cost. If you want to modify the portal, there's a cost tied to that. And so we usually just look at it and, how long is that going to take, and tell you it's going to cost this much, and then we change it. But there's no, per user licensing or anything like that on the portal side.
So as long as they keep their documents under 25 megabytes, then they can upload as many documents as they want?
Right.
Okay.
So what about some of our archived files? Do you have the ability to take some of our paper plans and scan those and attach those to current
Files?
current users?
We could definitely set something up like that. For the boiler section, I know that they have an outside agency that scans paper reports that that outside inspectors do, and they scan those and they put them up on an FTP site, and then we have a process that's scheduled every night that takes them and attaches them to the file. So we could set up something similar to that. You just have to name them something specific. You have to have a specific naming format for when they're scanned, so that we know, like what's the address or what's the permit number or things like something like that, so we know how to identify them. But that's something we could set up.
So if we got them scanned and sent, you would be able to attach them appropriately based on whatever
Parameters
right
you needed.
Right. So like the boilers, I think the file number contains the boiler jurisdiction number, and then we have that number in our system, so we just match them up on that and attach them. I mean, if there wasn't, so ideally it'd have like the SFM number, or, I mean, it just depends on how old they are. If they're older, and there isn't an SFM number, we could create a file or something like that. We'd have to just dig into it to see how we need to handle them.
Okay.
So based on what you can and can't do, is there any way that you could provide us with an estimate of cost?
Yeah, Tabitha, so that's what I was going to say is, we need to just kind of come back from this and look at those things, and I'll come back, with something specific for you and a cost after what we've learned today.
In order to do that, I want to make sure that for the date and time stamps of the comments, would we want them to price adding that? They said they could, they don't. But would we want to have them price doing that custom?
No, based on what I see, I don't see a need for that.
Okay.
Not at this time.
So don't put that in the quote, because we're good with that.
And we can put each item in there so you could kind of pick and choose too if you want.
Yeah, I was just making sure, because I know a couple of things you said, well, we do it this way, but we could add it. And so I think some of the ways that you already do it are fine, even though they're not exactly in our, like, we don't need the secured stamp because of the way that, because only the user, the author, can change it. And I said you could add it custom, but I don't think they need it.
Gotcha.
Is that correct?
Right. With customization options in it, so we could make our own.
And I know that you said you'd have to build in the download the plan with comments, right?
Yeah.
That was a build.
Yeah, so I'll try to break it down at a low enough level that we can, look at it and say, yes, yeah, we don't need that or whatever. So, just give us something to kind of start working with, Tabitha, you know what I mean?
That sounds great.
We'll just work until it's kind of, the way that you want it.
I just want to make sure that I knew what was, if we were good with what was here, not worrying about some of those other things, even though they didn't exactly follow what we had said. So
Right.
Yeah. Some of them aren't going to be applicable to us just because, the integration that we have with the system already. So absolutely. All right.
When we finish approving the plans, do we still have the option to pick who to return them to, or do they just automatically go back to who uploaded them?
You can choose. So if you're sending them the plans, you can choose so you can copy multiple people. If you set up the automatic notification, then that goes to whoever the applicant is. So most people, they send them and then they pick because they go, oh, I want to send it to this guy and that guy, and they're sending it to everyone on the project, not just the person who submitted them.
Okay.
But again, they're not getting the plan, correct? They're just getting a notification that the plan's been approved.
Well, yeah, you can have different approvals, so you can, or different emails. So you can have the email that says, here's our comments, and that has an attachment with, the markups. Or another email could be once it's approved. That can be a separate email. So there's different places that you can have those emails where either you send them as part of your process, or you can send automatic emails based on the permit status changing. But those, if you use the automatic ones, they go to the applicant on the permit.
Right, but once we're done and we approve this project, how does the customer get their approved plans back? Is it attached to an email, or do they go into the portal and download it?
You could do it either way. So one way is that once you approve it, you hit send email and you send them the plans. The other option is that you change the status to approved and the system sends an automatic email to the applicant, and from there they get a link they can click to go onto the portal and download them.
Is the email capability that you're using, is it built into the system, or is it taking advantage and using our own email system here?
It goes through the system. It's an SMTP email, so it goes through CitizenServe. It's going to come from your email address, but it's not actually going to be in your email server.
It gets stored on CitizenServe.
So we typically do with stuff like this is we get a backup somehow so that we can store it on our mail server for public record requests. As long as we get that, then normally that's good to go.
Okay.
For something like this that we're looking at, if you don't know now, maybe you can give it to us with pricing, but we need to know like that your typical, what you think the implementation time would also be.
Okay.
And the resources that you would require on our side, just so we could make sure that, talking to people, getting, fleshing out the requirements, all that kind of thing, the type of like documentation you provide and that kind of good stuff, just so we can make sure that we want to make sure that we are providing the appropriate resources so that we still meet the time frame.
Okay. So Tabitha, we've got on our end, Julie's going to be out of pocket for the next week. Would it be all right if we got this to you the end of next week or the beginning of the next? Or Julie, do you have some time to work on it tomorrow? I know you're kind of booked.
The money got carried forward, so yeah.
That should work. That should work.
Okay.
You guys send your plan.
Yeah, then that gives us.
Are they typically stamped at that point?
Mm-hmm.
So does this annotation, the final one that says the plan's been approved. So we have all those other stamps they can write comments on during the review process, but the one that says the plan's been approved, does that one get retained on the PDF itself when you send it out to the customer, or they go on their portal and download it?
That stamp would be on the markup of it. So again, the original PDF doesn't get changed.
What does the citizen see when they go to their portal? Do they have the ability to turn annotations?
So that's the thing that we have to add to your portal. Right now, all they see is the raw PDF, so they wouldn't see any of your comments. So what we would want to do, and that's one of the things that we kind of have to figure out how you want that to work. Do you want them to always see the markups, or have the ability to shut them off, or never see the markups, that kind of a thing? So we would change your portal so that it shows you them whatever you wanted them to show.
So I guess you show just one annotation, one markup?
No, it's kind of an all or nothing. So if you're saying show them the markups, they get all of them. If you wanted to say certain types are public and certain types are private, we'd have to build that into, I mean, that'd be a change that we'd have to add, because right now it's a all or nothing. If you see them, you see them. If you don't, you don't.
Julie, is that to say if you had multiple people that did the markups, would you be able to see that by the individuals that did the markups or not?
Yeah, theoretically you could. So they might want to do it by department instead of showing the name. Kind of depends on what you want there. But you could just have, if the final plans are approved, then it might just be that your stamp is the only thing that's on it. There are no other comments. Everything's been satisfied. So you may not need that, because that might be the only stamp you have to have on there.
Do you want to sometimes have comments that they don't see?
I mean, we're kind of used to working in the sunshine, so I mean, all of our comments are public record now. So I don't think that we would have anything that we didn't want them to see.
So that final document would just get the one stamp.
Well, it's going to get any annotation that's applied to the image.
Well, they'd have to have the.
Well, you have to drag it over. The last one wouldn't have anything unless you drug the previous comments over.
You're making a copy of it, saying this is the final revision.
Right.
Not bring any of your annotations over.
Correct. Right. And then I would have that final stamp that says approved on it.
Right.
Right. And I mean, there might be the case where you have a comment. There's times that but that's normally not with a revision. It's from the original, and we'll approve it with comments, instead of denying it and making them resubmit. I mean, so there are possibilities where you'd have comments on it, but we'd have to look at that one.
Yeah.
Because that could be, because the way it works, that would be so embedded, I don't know.
And did I see that you just made, like on that pool plan, you just made a copy of that one? Or did you have to download it and re-upload it?
I attached another copy of it. So there's not a way to copy this. Essentially, I have to, if I wanted to copy it, I have to pull it up, save it, and then add it again. I mean, you can do it, but it's not one step. It's like 3.
Can you go back and start with the original document and have different versions?
Yes, the way that it typically works is because you make comments, you send it to them, they give you a revised document. So that's why you're having multiple copies. So if I look at this one, we've got the original pool plans, the second pool plans, and then I attach the same document again. So
I was just thinking of, oh, well, I didn't understand that plan, what they were saying. I need to go back to the original, remove that comment, and you know what I mean? Like if there was, that's what I was thinking of, if for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, if they said, I don't understand, can you elaborate? You could pull that up, go to your comment, and, say, okay, I'm going to add some more information to them, and then resend it to them.
Or save it and they'd be able to see it on the,
yeah.
Would they be able to see it on the portal?
Walter has a question for you.
Yeah, I just want to kind of take you back. I just want to wrap my mind around this, and I like we do it now. I know it'd be vastly different online, but what I do, I don't review them. I don't do any of that. I just receive the plans. So I receive a lot of paper right now. How would I know, or do I need to know, when the application comes in, or does it just go to the review?
What I would imagine is that you could set the business processes up so that if it was a new plan, it could go to Walter first. Walter could then assign the plan out to whichever plan reviewer he wanted it assigned to based on the regions or however else you split it up.
Yeah, that was going to be my third question, actually, because I do distribute the plans after they've been received and date stamped, and I distribute those to the engineer. And we have done that in the past, and like Kathy said, by region, and I would imagine that would be one of the ways we would do it again. But I'm just trying to wrap my mind around, okay, I won't be seeing all the paper that I get.
It would probably come in through your citizen service, my tasks, through your dashboard.
Okay.
It would come in like the task would probably be like new application or something like that. And so you'd pull it up and look at it and just do a cursory check, just like you do the paper. What region is this in? Does everything make sense? And then if it's cool and you're ready to route it on, you just go over here to add route. And then you could have different ones. So for different regions, you could have, you set this up however you want, and then you just hit save, and then that would ship it out to everybody.
Okay. So there'll be no need for like we stamp them with a date when they come in now. There's no need for that. Will that be automatically done? Or?
Should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be date stamped. If you look at the documents, this is a date stamp that when they uploaded it, it gets stamped.
It won't be on the documents, okay.
Yeah, it won't be on the actual document, but it'll be on the file. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can choose to, you can also, so you guys can also choose to get an email when something is assigned to you. So not only will you see it in Citizen Serve, but at your option, if you want to also get an email when something like that comes up, system can do that too.
Okay.
I'm looking at this page right here, and it says system email notification, your permit application has been received. Is that something that's automatic, that you can set up to be automatic, that email?
Yeah, it is, and then you can configure it. So we don't have it turned on for you. It's something that is available with our new portal, but I'll have to double check. I'm pretty sure that we could kind of use the new portal settings but have it still work on your existing. But yeah, there's a whole set of them. If I go to admin, look up, where are they? Email notifications. So these are kind of all the internal ones, which you wouldn't get because your portal is different. But everything, most of these, the status has changed. You could set that up to be automatically done. Actually, most of these are based on the portal, but that one in particular, when you change the status on the permit from some status to another status, then it'll automatically send the email to the applicant, and we can, you can change this to look however you want. It's a template.
So do we have an ability to, just for purposes of continuity, an exit strategy that we're trying to do now for all of our cloud-based or hosted systems, where we can get an export of the database and the document on a regular basis?
Yeah, we can set up a quarterly or every 6 month or annual export of the data for you. It's in a SQL Server format, so that's the format you get it in. But yeah, we can set up an automatic. Just copy it to an FTP and you guys download it.
Perfect. Good. Do we have any questions or anything? We really appreciate you guys taking the time to show it to us. It's
Our
great
pleasure.
information.
Yeah.
And I will look forward to getting some information around the end of next week, correct?
I think, does that work, Julie, for you?
Late next week, yeah.
Yeah, in the next week.
Okay.
Awesome.
All
Well, thank
right.
you guys very much
Thank
for
you
your
so
time
much.
today. I think that went good conversation. Went well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.